Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers and then we'll open our Darshan and see what Rishi Patanjali is telling us today. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Sadgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Mritam Gamya Om Sehna Bhavatu Sehna Bhanaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi Om Shanti 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 Om. Chapter 2, Sadhna Pad, verse number 43. So we are learning the benefits of the yam and the niyams. So first Rishi Patanjali went through all 5 yams. When we are fully established, not just halfway established, fully established, what are the benefits? So now in verse number 43, that's where we ended our class. We were in the middle of going through it. This is one of the niyams. So niyams are Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhan. Okay, so this verse number 43 is about Tap. And Tap means austerity. So when we are fully established in Tap, fully established means at the speech level also, at the mental level also, thoughts, at the bodily level also. So all three, not tamsik, not rajsik, but sattvic tapasya. Okay, once we are fully established in it, what really happens? He says, Kaya, Indriya, Siddhi, Ashuddhi, Kshayat, Tapsaha. So austerity destroys impurities. Ashuddhi. Okay, Ashuddhi means impurities. So austerity destroys impurities. And what is the outcome of that? From that comes yogic accomplishments, siddhis, pertaining to the body and the senses. So very powerful statement Rishi Patanjali is making over here. And we were in the middle of discussing this. And I was telling you that Kaya Siddhi is called, or the bodily Siddhi is called Kaya Kalpa. Kaya Kalpa has 5 main objectives. First, it detoxifies the 5 major cleansing organs in our body: colon, kidney, liver, lungs, and skin. Constantly there's a cleansing happening with these powerful organs of ours. Again, colon, kidney, liver, lungs, and skin. And the second major objective of this Kaya Kalpa is it strengthens the heart and lungs so they function in a mutually supportive, harmonious manner. Heart and lungs. And third objective is to regulate the digestive system. And the fourth is energize the solar plexus to awaken the dormant intelligence of our nervous system, so that our reproductive organs also, they function properly. And the fifth objective is to gain access to the space that fills our brain, to energize and strengthen brain and nervous system. A wise person understands that nothing is more important than reclaiming and retaining the vibrant health. That's why we often say that health is the real wealth. So yogis, they have told us how to do this Kaya Kalpa. Because a person conditioned by an unhealthy lifestyle, Kaya Kalpa is a hardship because it requires discipline. Most of us resist change, especially a change in our eating habits. And it's equally hard to change habits associated with other sensory pleasures. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, or it could be entertainment. We know it's taking a heavy toll on our body and mind and senses. But when we get a taste of those sensory pleasures, it's hard to change. But once we get a taste of the vitality of a healthy body and the joy which really comes from this calmness, we joyfully embrace this discipline. So, this joyful austerity leads to these distinct accomplishments. Kaya Siddhi, Indriya Siddhi, and even Sankalpa Siddhi, which is not mentioned in this verse, but in other mantras, it is said that Sankalpa Siddhi also. So, Kaya Siddhi means bodily perfection. Indriya Siddhi means perfection of the senses. And the Sankalp Siddhi means perfection of will and determination. We all know that our human body is naturally endowed with unique qualities and also capacities, such as beauty, charm, vitality, and also the self-healing power. These are also called Kaya Sampad. Sampad means wealth. So body's intrinsic wealth. This nature, beautiful Prakriti has given it to us. It's almost like somebody gives us a box of gems, but we never open it, never use it. We just sit on it. This is what we have done as human beings. When the body is freed of impurities and it's replenished with its innate wisdom, it awakens to these powers spontaneously. Inner balance is restored. Our limbs and organs function harmoniously. Our heart, brain, endocrine, and autonomic nervous systems, they become acutely aware of our internal needs. That's how our healing and nourishing process is accelerated, and all our internal organs, they are revitalized. And also the sense organs also. Indriya Siddhi. So the sense organs and the subtle power and intelligence that empower them with the capacity to comprehend, feel, and act are energized. This is called perfection of the body. Actually, Kaya Siddhi, because that is at the physical level, leads to the perfection of the Indriya Siddhi. And from the Indriya Siddhi, we see that intelligence flows. We can think properly. We can act intelligently. But we got to learn how to remove the impurities, though. Ashuddhi kshay. Because once the impurities are removed, the pran shakti flows throughout the body, unobstructed. And that's where our senses get the power to function at the speed of our mind. Our senses are able to comprehend our thoughts, feelings, and also concerns, decisions, and most important, our intentions. They're able to translate them into action instantly. This ability is Indriya Siddhi. So, bodily perfection and perfection of the senses, they prepare the foundation for Sankalp Siddhi. Because we want to have a Sankalp Siddhi, but we start at the wrong place. A sick body, a disturbed mind cannot have the Sankalp Siddhi. Again, Sankalp Siddhi is perfection of will and determination. So once we have regained the original purity of our mind and body and senses, they are fully replenished. They begin to function at full capacity. Every cell, tissue, and organ in our body is lit by the inner luminosity of our mind. And we often say this mind of ours is a devata. Devata means it's a shining being, but only in that kind of a body. Our sense organs and the deeper intelligence that infuses them with special powers conform to the feelings and intention of our mind. And our old habits, cravings lose their grip. That is the Sankalp Siddhi. So our sensory activities, biological urges do not contaminate the decisions and resolutions made by our higher intelligence. Because our body and senses are purified, healed, revitalized. And from there, our memory becomes sharp also. Memory becomes stable also. What we have decided to accomplish remains firmly in the forefront of our consciousness. And we know the capacity of our body, mind, and senses has no limit. We become confident that we'll be successful in anything we decide to do. So self-confidence, self-trust free us from the fear and doubt. And we are able to invest ourselves fully in achieving our goals. This is called Sankalp Siddhi. So this sounds like a very extraordinary accomplishment. Yeah? Manifesting from tap only. But we got to learn to do tap wisely. So the real goal of a tapasvi is the inner growth. Not just the blessings from outside, but inner growth. For this inner growth, Rishi Patanjali introduces the next verse because it is coupled with the next niyam. Because if we don't do the study, which is a swadhyay, tap alone will not take us where we want to go. Swadhyay. Swadhyayat isht devta samparyoga. Swadhyayat, self-study. Isht means capable of guiding and enlightening. Desirable. Isht. Devata. Dev. Power of Dev. The bright being. Samparyoga, union or interaction. From self-study comes the opportunity to be in the capacity of the Devata of our choice, Ishta Devata. The Devata which we have chosen, or the Devata which our Guru has given it to us, chosen deity. You remember this chapter started with the Kriya Yoga. And Kriya Yoga, according to Rishi Patanjali, includes Tap, Swadhyay, and Ishwar Pranidhan. So you can see that these three niyams play a key role in enabling us to succeed in our practice. So this sutra says self-study gives us the opportunity to be in the company of the Devata of our choice, or that bright being of our choice. Who are the bright beings? They could be the Siddhs, they could be the Rishis, they could be God incarnate, anybody. Wherever we feel that power is coming to us, and our mind goes there instantly. So they visit those committed practitioners. And especially when the commitment is to Swadhyaya also, because that is part of the work. We saw in the last chapter, verse number 24 to 29, Rishi Patanjali gave us a concept of Ishwar. According to Rishi Patanjali, Ishwar is radically different from the idea of God conceived by the various religions, if you remember that. Ishwar is not an individuated entity. Ishwar is all-pervading, omniscient being. It is beyond time, space, and the law of cause and effect. It does not fit into any category. Ishwar is an absolute reality according to Rishi Patanjali. It is beyond cognition. That means the mind and senses cannot comprehend it. So this reality does not visit anyone because it is everywhere all the time. We may or may not see it, but Ishwar is always seeing us because it's everywhere. So Rishi Patanjali is avoiding using the Ishwar in this sutra. He says Ishta Devata. So loosely, Ishta Devata can be translated as a deity of our preference. Ishta Devata. So the most precise translation of this sutra is self-study results in having darshan of the deity of our preference. So according to Rishi Patanjali, self-study gives us the capacity to see and comprehend the deity of our choice. So this deity carries a hint of individuatedness. And Ishwar does not, because Ishwar is everywhere. That power is everywhere. But this being, whether it's a form of Shri Krishna or Shri Ram or any other form of God, that could be the Ishta. A deity who, due to self study, walks into our life does two things. It pulls Ishwar toward us. And it also pushes us towards Ishwar. It is such a strong force that we cannot miss it. And this is when the highest samadhi dawns. Let us see how the yogic tradition views the idea of deity and how self-study gives us the ability to see and be in the company of the deity of our choice. The term for deity used in this sutra is Devta. And it is further qualified by the term Ishta, so Ishta Devata. Devata means the essence of Dev, essential attributes of Dev. And Dev means a shining being, bright being. So the Devta means the essential attribute that makes a bright being bright. In other words, the brilliance of shining beings is a Devata. So the word Isht means that which is chosen. So the essential brilliance of the bright beings we choose to imbibe. So this sutra tells us that self-study empowers us to be in the company of our Isht Devata. Our Isht Devata has that inherent unalloyed luminosity. It's so shining. And these devatas are the masters belonging to the category of Videha, and they could be Prakriti Leya. These are those higher beings. And during their lifetime, these masters are established in Dharam Megh Samadhi, the highest Samadhi. We'll learn about this Samadhi in the 4th chapter. After death, they become an integral part of Ishwar's intrinsic Prakriti. And these beings are free of the 5 afflictions, which human beings like us are afflicted by. Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesh, Abhinivesh. These beings are not afflicted by these. Their power of knowing is absolutely pure. It's unobstructed. They have the ability to see both the unmanifest as well as the manifest. Because these are the two spheres of the reality, Vyakt and Avyakt. But these beings are transcendental beings. This time and space pose no barrier to their comprehension. And that's why they are self-luminous. And that's why we call them seers or the rishis. Like the rishis who gave us those mantras in the Vedas. It is important to understand exactly what these seers see. Because their form is so pure. After being seen by the seer, you cannot forget it. The effect of that vision is so strong. That's why when we do certain job of a particular devata for a long time, without interruption and with reverence, we eventually reach a high level of mental absorption of that mantra also, of that form also. We feel the oneness with that. And the technical term which Rishi Patanjali used in the first chapter is samapati. In this state, that radiance of that devata, along with the name and the form conceived by that practitioner, begins to dawn on the horizon of our awareness. The essence of the seer, the power of seeing itself, occupies our awareness along with the seer's name and form. This is what this sutra means by stating that Swadhyaya results in a vision of the deity of our choice. It gives us the ability to see the Shakti. We comprehend the name and form of the radiant Shakti in direct proportion to the quality and the capacity of our mind. That's why we have to constantly keep on cleaning our mind, keep on calming our mind. Because the same divinity is seen as very beautiful. Or for other people, it could be seen less beautiful. For somebody else, it could be terrifying. Or some people might say it's just a human form. It all depends what kind of a mental structure we have. In the beginning stages, experiences pertaining to the Rishi and Devata may be fleeting and occur only in dreams. Because Ishta Devata, to encourage us, visit us also in the dreams. We don't bring them, they come on their own. These experiences may be so mingled with our mental tendency that we may not see any spiritual values in the beginning. And it's all because of our dense darkness of the tamsikta. During that sleep, we may not remember these experiences on awakening. And yet, if we sincerely and consistently engage ourselves in the practice of the yam and the niyam, most importantly, tap, we purify and expand the quality and the capacity of our mind. and eventually receive a clearer, purer vision of the seer and the Devta of our choice. At that point, it will not be obstructed by our mental conditioning. In fact, even in our waking state, we will be able to experience the subtle counterpart of the divine radiance.
Anji, you're on mute. You're on mute.
We will see the self-luminous light. And each time we gain these experiences, our capacity expands until one day we are able to comprehend the essence of the divinity and our Ishta Devata completely. We see that seer fully, and we are firmly established in it. And those who have reached this level of realization are called Siddhs. Siddh means accomplished one. Because the radiance illuminating them becomes the locus for their consciousness when they are in meditation, and that same radiance is available to them after they cast off their body. They continue living as luminous beings, but are not absorbed in the intrinsic prakriti of Ishwar like most of us. They are fully awake, and the matter and energy that constitute this world pose no barrier for them. In fact, the radiance of Siddhs is not confined to the earthly plane. So this self-study, this swadhyay, takes us to that level. It enables us to see and live in the company of the bright beings. Swadhyay. Each time we come in touch with these bright beings, our consciousness is elevated to a new height. It's almost like the person we spend most time with has the effect on us. So these bright beings, Ishta Devata, has the effect on us. Their presence fills our consciousness with ever greater purity. And that's how that veil of ignorance is completely destroyed. Because otherwise, the veil of ignorance is hiding our buddhi sattva. Buddhi sattva means the essence of our inner intelligence. So with that buddhi sattva, which we all have, once we realize it, we can comprehend the reality as it is. Unveiling of this buddhi sattva, we are able to comprehend Ishwar and Ishwar's intrinsic prakriti. Our fear of dissolving into Ishwar's prakriti vanishes. That's why often I tell you the statement of my Gurudev ji, जो भगत है वो डरता नहीं. So if we really love God, there should never be any fear. We no longer see Ishwar outside of ourselves. Or we don't see ourselves outside of Ishwar. Because if Ishwar is everywhere, how can we be outside of Ishwar? We also realize the guiding grace of Ishwar. We realize now that Ishwar has always been with us. And this divine grace grants us lasting fulfillment and ultimate freedom. Outcome of this is gratitude. We see in these yogis the attitude of gratitude constantly. Another thing there is, they are very humble. So, with the humility and gratitude, we spontaneously surrender to Ishwar. Because we often talk about surrender, but surrender without this gratitude and humility cannot be. So, this opens the floodgate of the higher samadhi, the subject addressed in the next sutra. Samadhi siddhi Ishwar pranidhanat. So, this is the fifth niyam. You remember, started with Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay, and now the fifth one is Ishwar Pranidhanat. So, Samadhi is the state of mind beyond cognition. Samadhi. Siddhi, yogic accomplishment. Ishwar, all-pervading divine being beyond time and space, and absolutely untouched by afflictions. That's Ishwar. Pranidhanat, from trustful surrender. So from trustful surrender to Ishwar comes Samadhi. It is important to remember that in the first chapter, Rishi Patanjali dedicated 7 sutras to this subject. From sutra number 23 to 29. Here is repeating the sutra 23 almost entirely. This is significant because the tradition of sutra style writing demands that the author avoids repetition. And the sutras are supposed to be very precise. So we got to think about it, that one of the most notable pillars of the tradition is communicating with this repetition. Here, Rishi Patanjali is quite precise in regarding trustful surrender as the doorway to the highest samadhi. Back in Samadhi Pad, first chapter, immediately after introducing the idea of trustful surrender to Ishwar, he entered into a prolonged explanation of the nature of Ishwar. That was a verse 24 to 26. And only then he stated that Ishwar is represented by the mantra, and he explained how mantra jap turns our consciousness inward and removes obstacles. That was the theme over there. And as these 7 sutras, he made it clear that Ishwar is absolute being, beyond time, space, and the law of cause and effect. It has no form, no name. It is omniscient. In the world comprehensible to our senses and mind, there's nothing parallel to Ishwar's distinctiveness. That's why we say it cannot be described. So, how can we surrender ourselves to something we do not and cannot know? Only when we read Sutra number 45, which is this sutra where we are, and also connected with the previous sutra, Sutra number 44, when we see that there is an experience of those yogis who have traveled this path, they have the concept of trustful surrender to Ishwar. And when we are in commune with them, we feel their divine grace. And that's what really opens the door to samadhi. And this whole thing becomes comprehensible for us. So it's not a samadhi alone. In order to reach the samadhi, we have to definitely follow the other steps also. The mind has to be clean. It has to be calm. We have to make sure that we are living a life of a tapasvi. We cannot be a bhogi and a yogi at the same time. So for all intents and purposes, rishis, the seers, they are Ishwar. And the ordinary mind can only go this far. But as we continue our sadhana, our mind becomes increasingly infused with the seeing power of the seer. Our ordinary mind is transformed into buddhi sattva, the extraordinary mind which we regain. We see that a luminous intelligence with this fully transformed mind, and we are able to see the seer in its fullness. We are able to see the seer's oneness with Ishwar also, because we have become the seer. Our mind is no longer our mind. It is the mind of the seer. And we see the totality of the truth through the eyes of the seer. And this seeing is utterly different from any form of seeing and knowing familiar to us. That's why Lord Krishna told Arjuna, with these eyes of yours, you cannot see me. I'll give you the divine eyes. Because these ordinary eyes, we see only the objective world. But at this level, this understanding dawns, which is so unique. And this experience is all-consuming. It really annihilates all mental tendencies and even the deep-rooted afflictions, ignorance, distorted self-identity, attachment, aversion, and fear. So this is what happens, but we start from here. I need to talk a little bit more about this Ishwar Pranidhan next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much for coming.